Frank Newton. Now listen, I want the throttle lever off the Emma Sweeney. That's the wood burner in the north wing. Right.
Mighty handy having your own railroad museum, isn't it?
Ever wonder why a show about a rural hotel became one of the biggest hits of the 1960s? From murder victim Sharon Tate nearly landing a lead role to a dog that couldn't be named. Petticoat Junction's backstage secrets are far stranger than anything that happened in Hooterville. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about Petticoat Junction, 1963. Fact 1. Sharon Tate was cast but never filmed.
Jethro, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am. You hear any music?
No, should I?
Before Sharon Tate became known as the tragic victim of the Manson murders in 1969, she was a 20-year-old aspiring actress trying to break into Hollywood. In 1963, when Petticoat Junction was being cast, Tate had just signed a contract with Filmway's president Martin Ransohoff, who was managing her early career. The role of Billie Jo Bradley, the flirtatious blonde daughter of the Bradley family, seemed like the perfect opportunity for the young starlet. CBS had purchased the series Sight Unseen, based solely on creator Paul Henning's success with the Beverly Hillbillies, which meant there was no pilot episode to test actors. Sharon Tate was given the role and even participated in early promotional photo shoots with the rest of the cast, creating publicity materials that circulated within the industry. However, Ransohoff ultimately made the decision to pull her from the project before filming began. He believed that Tate simply didn't have enough acting experience to handle such a prominent role on a major network sitcom, and her agents agreed that jumping into a series lead might be premature. The part went to Jeanine Riley instead, who played Billie Jo for the first 2 seasons. Rather than abandoning Tate completely, Ransohoff placed her in smaller roles on other Filmways productions like Mr. Ed and the Beverly Hillbillies to help her gain experience and build confidence. This strategy eventually paid off when Tate landed her breakthrough role in Valley of the Dolls in 1967, making her a household name just 2 years before her tragic death. Fact 2. 3 actresses played Billie Jo in 7 seasons.
Billie Jo, you look like $1 million tonight. And it's all invested in the right places.
The role of Billie Jo Bradley holds a unique place in television history as one of the most frequently recast characters on a successful sitcom. While Linda Kay Henning played Betty Jo throughout the entire 7-year run and only 2 actresses had portrayed Bobby Jo, the blonde Billie Jo became a revolving door of talent that confused even dedicated viewers. Jeanine Riley originated the role in 1963 and played the boy-crazy, somewhat ditzy oldest daughter for the first 2 seasons. When Riley left in 1965 to pursue a film career that never quite materialized, Swedish actress Gunilla Hutton took over for season 3. However, Hutton was absent from 11 episodes that year due to health issues, which led producers to demote the character to a recurring role rather than a series regular. For the 4th season in 1966, producers brought in Meredith McRae, daughter of singers Gordon and Sheila McRae, who played a more sophisticated and less airheaded version of Billie Jo. McRae remained with the show until its cancellation in 1970. This constant recasting led one television reviewer to quip that if viewers got confused when Bewitched changed its Darrins, then Petticoat Junction probably wasn't the show for them. The character changes were so frequent that casual viewers often couldn't remember which actress played which version of Billie Jo, making the Bradley sisters' blonde daughter one of the most fluid characters in 1960s television. Fact 3. The show's dog was never actually named.
Around. I gotta dash off a real special note to Kate.
One of the strangest ongoing quirks of Petticoat Junction was the complete inability of the writers and characters to settle on a name for the family dog. The fluffy mixed-breed dog who in real life was named Higgins and would later become famous as the star of the movie Benji, joined the cast in 1964 during the show's second season. In the first episode featuring the dog, the three Bradley sisters each suggested different names for their new pet. Billy Joe wanted to call him Spike, Bobby Joe preferred Prince, and Betty Joe suggested Byron. However, the family never actually decided on any of these names, and from that point forward, the dog was simply referred to as Dog or Boy throughout the remainder of the series. Press releases for the show called him the Shady Rest Dog, but that name was never used in any episode. Interestingly, one episode broadcast in January of 1968 was titled Higgins Come Home, referencing the dog's actual name. But even in that episode, none of the characters called him Higgins. The dog remained nameless for all 6 seasons he appeared on the show, from 1964 to 1970. This wasn't due to oversight, but rather a deliberate creative choice that became a running gag, though the show never explicitly acknowledged it as such. Despite never having an official character name, Higgins won a Patsy Award for his performance and was even featured on the cover of TV Guide, proving that a dog by any name or no name at all could still steal the show. Fact 4. That famous train also pushed the DeLorean in Back to the Future 3.
My little friend.
The Hooterville Cannonball wasn't just a prop on a beloved sitcom, it was a genuine piece of American railroad history that became Hollywood's hardest-working locomotive. Sierra No. 3, the real train used for all the exterior shots and opening credits of Petticoat Junction, is officially recognized as the most photographed locomotive in the world, having appeared in over 200 films and television shows throughout its career. Built by the Rogers Locomotive and Machine Works in Paterson, New Jersey in 1891, this 460 10-wheeler steam locomotive originally served the Prescott and Arizona Central Railway before finding its way to California's Sierra Railway Company in 1897. The train proved so photogenic and reliable that Hollywood came calling repeatedly over the decades. Before Petticoat Junction made it famous to television audiences, Sierra No. 3 had already appeared in classic westerns like High Noon with Gary Cooper in 1952 and The Virginian. After Petticoat Junction ended in 1970, the locomotive continued its film career, appearing in Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven and countless other productions. Perhaps its most famous post-Petticoat role came in 1990, when Sierra No. 3 was chosen to push the DeLorean time machine up to 88 miles per hour in the climactic finale of Back to the Future Part 3. Today, the locomotive is preserved and still operational at Railtown 1897 State Historic Park in Jamestown, California, where it occasionally pulls tourist excursion trains when not being rented out for yet another film or television production. Fact 5. Edgar Buchanan was a real dentist who gave up his practice.
Not today. I got a secret weapon. You engaged?
At 36, Uncle Joe Carson might have spent most of his time lounging in a rocking chair dreaming up get-rich-quick schemes. But the man who played him had a far more industrious past. Edgar Buchanan was born in Humansville, Missouri in 1903 and moved to Oregon with his family when he was 7 years old. His father was a dentist in Eugene, Oregon, and strongly encouraged his son to follow in his footsteps, believing that pursuing a career in theater would lead to a life of mediocrity and uncertainty. Despite his father's disapproval, Edgar took theater courses at the University of Oregon while studying pre-med, even participating in a Portland acting troupe during graduate school. He eventually earned his Doctor of Dental Surgery degree from North Pacific College School of Dentistry in Portland in 1928. The same year he married his classmate, Mildred Spence, who also became a dentist. For the next 11 years, Buchanan practiced oral surgery, first in Eugene from 1929 to 1937, then in Altadena, California, after he and his wife relocated in 1939. It was in California that everything changed. Buchanan joined the Pasadena Community Playhouse as an actor, and studio scouts spotted him performing on stage. They offered him a 7-year contract in Hollywood, and at age 36, Buchanan made the bold decision to completely abandon his dental practice to pursue acting full-time. His wife Mildred took over their dental practice and also became his talent manager, supporting his career transition. Buchanan's first film role came in 1939, and he never looked back, eventually appearing in over 100 films and multiple television series before landing his most famous role as Uncle Joe on Petticoat Junction in 1963. Fact 6. The creator's daughter hid her last name to avoid nepotism.
Love? Well, isn't it in your closet? No. How about under the bed? No, I looked under there.
Linda Kay Henning had done what many would consider an unfair advantage when auditioning for Petticoat Junction in 1963. Her father, Paul Henning, had created the show. However, rather than using this connection to guarantee his daughter a role, Paul Henning went to extraordinary lengths to ensure that Linda earned the part on her own merits. When it came time to cast the 3 Bradley daughters, Paul deliberately stayed out of the casting process entirely because he was terrified of being accused of nepotism. The role of Betty Jo Bradley, the red-headed tomboy and youngest daughter, seemed perfect for Linda and veteran actress Bea Benaderet, who was cast as the girl's mother, Kate Bradley, actually suggested Linda for the part. Once Linda was cast based on her own audition, Paul insisted that she drop the Henning surname altogether to avoid any appearance of favoritism. For the first 5 seasons of Petticoat Junction, from 1963 to 1968, Linda was billed only as Linda Kay, using her middle name as her stage name. Paul even joked with his daughter that she should add an E to make it Kay, so people might think she was the daughter of the famous red-headed comedian Danny Kaye, rather than Paul Henning. It wasn't until season 6 in the fall of 1968, after Betty Jo's character had married Steve Elliott on the show, and Linda had married actor Mike Miner in real life, that she was finally billed by her full name, Linda Kay Henning. By that point, she had proven herself as the only actress to appear in all but 2 episodes of the series' entire 7-year run. Fact 7. Frank Cady played the same character on 3 shows. Simultaneously,
Sam Drucker speaking. Who'd you say it was, Sarah? What eagle? I don't know any eagles.
television history was made in the late 1960s thanks to Frank Cady and his character Sam Drucker, the friendly general store owner in the fictional town of Hooterville. Cady became the only actor in television history to play the same recurring character on 3 different sitcoms at the same time. Sam Drucker first appeared on Petticoat Junction when the show premiered in September of 1963, serving as the proprietor of Drucker's General Store, where the residents of Hooterville would gather to play checkers, gossip, and pick up their mail. Drucker was also the town's postmaster, newspaper editor, justice of the peace, county clerk, and occasionally even served as mayor, making him the hub of the entire community. When Green Acres premiered in 1965 as a spin-off set in the same fictional universe, Sam Drucker continued running his store, appearing in 142 of the show's 170 episodes over 6 seasons. Then, starting in 1968, Drucker began making guest appearances on the Beverly Hillbillies, even though that show was set in Beverly Hills rather than Hooterville. For one remarkable year from 1968 to 1969, Cady was simultaneously appearing as Sam Drucker on all 3 shows, creating a unique television achievement that has never been duplicated. In total, Cady played Sam Drucker in over 300 episodes across the 3 series, with his final appearance coming in the 1990 television movie Return to Green Acres, which was also Cady's last acting role before his retirement and eventual death in 2012 at age 96. Fact 8. The Bradley sisters performed on Ed Sullivan. Just days after the Beatles episode.
Well, Sally, Mom isn't exactly what you'd call hip.
Yeah, her idea of a real swinging group is Guy Lombardo.
When the Beatles appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show on February 9, 1964, they created a cultural phenomenon that threatened to knock Paul Henning's other hit show, The Beverly Hillbillies, out of the top-rating spot. Henning's solution was to ride the wave of Beatlemania rather than fight it. So he quickly wrote an episode of Petticoat Junction where Uncle Joe decides to capitalize on the British invasion by forming the Bradley sisters into a Beatles-style singing group. The girls, along with their friend Sally Ragsdale, played by Sheila James, formed a band called the Ladybugs, complete with mop-top wigs and matching outfits. They performed a gender-swapped version of the Beatles' hit song I Saw Her Standing There, changing the lyrics to I Saw Him Standing There. The episode, titled The Ladybugs, was scheduled to air on March 24, 1964. However, in an extraordinary promotional coup, Ed Sullivan himself invited the actresses to appear on his show to perform as the Ladybugs just 2 nights before the Petticoat Junction episode would air. On March 22, 1964, barely 6 weeks after the Beatles' historic appearance, Janine Riley, Pat Woodell, Linda Kay Henning, and Sheila James took the stage on The Ed Sullivan Show wearing their Ladybug costumes and performed their Beatles parody for a national television audience. Ed Sullivan even promoted the upcoming Petticoat Junction episode during the broadcast, telling viewers to tune in later that week to see more of the Ladybugs. The actresses also recorded a single as the Ladybugs, making them one of the first fictional Beatles-related bands in America, and creating a bizarre footnote in both television and music history. Fact 9. Bea Benaderet died during filming, and her character was never recast.
You said I was asleep. That's what you said.
Bea Benaderet was the heart and soul of Petticoat Junction, playing matriarch Kate Bradley with warmth and humor that made audiences feel like they were part of the family. In November of 1967, at age 61, Benaderet received devastating news. She had lung cancer. She was in the middle of filming the show's 5th season when the diagnosis came. During the holiday season that year, she underwent 6 weeks of radiation treatment, and doctors initially believed the treatment had been successful. Benaderet took 10 weeks off to recuperate while the show continued production, with temporary actresses Shirley Mitchell and Rosemary DeCamp filling in as Kate's cousin and sister respectively, with the explanation that Kate was away caring for an ailing relative. The actress received an overwhelming amount of fan mail during her absence, with viewers sending get-well cards and letters of support. Benaderet returned for the season 5 finale titled Kate's Homecoming, but tragically, just a few episodes into filming season 6, the cancer returned and she had to stop working. Knowing that Benaderet wouldn't be able to continue, producers filmed one final scene with her for an episode about Betty Jo giving birth. Benaderet was so weak that she could only provide her voice, which was dubbed over footage of a stand-in actress whose back was turned to the camera. Bia boys. Benaderet died on October 13, 1968, just 13 days before that episode aired. Rather than recasting the beloved character, producers chose to explain that Kate was traveling and visiting relatives, and they played pre-recorded letters from her in several episodes, creating emotional moments for both the cast and viewers. Fact 10. The show's title comes from the sisters' skinny dipping.
And even more when you get to the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
The name Petticoat Junction has puzzled viewers for decades, especially since the Shady Rest Hotel wasn't actually located at a railroad junction where multiple train lines meet. The real story behind the title is far more risque than most family-friendly sitcom fans might expect. The term Petticoat Junction refers to the railway water tower where the three Bradley sisters would regularly go swimming in the nude, hanging their petticoats over the side of the tower as a signal that they were bathing. This fact is established in the show's iconic opening credits, which show the girls' undergarments draped over the edge of the water tower while the sisters themselves are swimming just out of view. In the second episode of the series, Kate Bradley delivers a speech defending the Hooterville cannonball train, explaining that when her three daughters were born, it was the cannonball that brought the doctor to her side by screaming through the night. The water tower served as the train's refueling stop, providing water for the steam locomotive's boiler. The location wasn't technically a junction at all, but rather a water stop along the isolated branch line that ran between Hooterville and Pixley. However, Petticoat Junction sounded far more appealing and memorable than Petticoat Water Stop. During the show's development, creator Paul Henning had considered several other titles including Ozark Widow, Dern Tootin', and Whistle Stop, but neither Henning nor CBS particularly liked those options. Ultimately, Petticoat Junction was chosen because it evoked both the innocent charm of a bygone era and just a hint of naughtiness that would intrigue viewers without offending the censors of 1960s television. Fact 11. Uncle Joe wore both suspenders and a belt.
I'll be out on the porch if you need me.
Throughout the series, Edgar Buchanan's portrayal of Uncle Joe Carson included one particularly eccentric wardrobe choice that became an iconic part of the character's look, though few viewers probably noticed it consciously. Throughout the entire 7-year run of Petticoat Junction, Uncle Joe consistently wore both suspenders and a belt at the same time, creating a redundant and somewhat comical approach to keeping his pants up. This wasn't an accident or a continuity error that slipped through occasionally. It was a deliberate costume design that appeared in nearly every episode from 1963 to 1970. The choice perfectly captured Uncle Joe's character as someone who was set in his ways, perhaps a bit overly cautious, and not particularly concerned with fashion or modern sensibilities. For a man who spent most of his time lounging in a rocking chair on the hotel's front porch, the practical concern of his pants staying up was apparently paramount, even if it meant doubling up on the equipment needed to accomplish that goal. The suspenders and belt combination became as much a part of Uncle Joe's signature look as his lazy demeanor and his endless parade of half-baked schemes to make money for the Shady Rest Hotel. Costume designers in television often make specific choices to help define characters and make them memorable, and this particular quirk certainly achieved that goal. It also reflected the rural, old-fashioned setting of Hooterville, where practicality and tradition trumped any concerns about redundancy or style, and where a man like Uncle Joe could wear whatever made him comfortable without anyone questioning his fashion choices. Fact 12. The hotel's train was borrowed from a Portland hotel lobby.
See the look on Sam's face when I jumped all these men?
Yeah, I reckon that ring really was lucky.
The reason I won was pure unamalgamated skill.
While the real Sierra No. 3 locomotive was used for all the exterior shots and long-distance scenes of the Hooterville Cannonball, close-up interior scenes inside the cab and passenger car required a different solution. A full-scale wooden prop locomotive had been built in 1950 by 20th Century Fox for the movie A Ticket to Tomahawk, starring Dan Daly, Walter Brennan, Rory Calhoun, and Marilyn Monroe. The elaborate studio mock-up was made of wood, fiberglass, and metal, and cost $40,000 to construct. It was actually a replica of Rio Grande Southern No. 20, which had starred in the film as a fictional locomotive called the Emma Sweeney. After the movie wrapped, Fox sold the locomotive replica to Harvey Dick, who owned the Hoyt Hotel in Portland, Oregon. Dick used the impressive prop as decor for his hotel's Barbary Coast Lounge, an 1890s-style gaslight-themed bar in the hotel lobby. When Petticoat Junction needed a prop train for studio soundstage scenes, Harvey Dick agreed to loan his decorative locomotive to the producers in exchange for a prominent screen credit. If you watch the end credits of any Petticoat Junction episode, you'll see the credit line. Train furnished by Barbary Coast, Hoyt Hotel, Portland, Oregon. This arrangement lasted throughout the show's entire run from 1963 to 1970. After the series ended, the locomotive prop was restored to its original Emma Sweeney appearance and paint scheme. Today, the wooden replica is on public display under shelter in Santa Rita Park in Durango, Colorado, where it continues to delight train enthusiasts and fans of classic television history. Fact 13. Betty Jo married her real-life co-star right after their TV wedding.
You really feel that way, huh?
Yes, I do.
All right, then. You take him back.
The romance between Betty Jo Bradley and crop duster pilot Steve Elliott was one of the central storylines of Petticoat Junction's later seasons, and it turned out that art was imitating life in more ways than viewers realized. Linda Kay Henning, who played the youngest Bradley daughter Betty Jo, and Mike Miner, who played her love interest Steve Elliott, starting in season 4, developed a real romantic relationship while working together on the show. On November 7, 1967, their characters Steve and Betty Jo were married in a special episode that drew strong ratings from viewers who had watched the couple's courtship unfold over multiple seasons. The on-screen wedding was elaborate for a sitcom, featuring all the regular cast members and becoming a major event in Hooterville. Then, almost exactly 1 year later in 1968, Linda Kay Henning and Mike Miner decided to make their real-life romance official by getting married off-screen. The timing created a strange parallel where the actors wed just 1 year after their fictional counterparts had tied the knot, blurring the lines between the show and reality. It was also around this time that Linda finally began using her full name, Linda Kay Henning, in the show's credits, rather than just Linda Kay, perhaps feeling more established in her career now that she was married. Unfortunately, unlike many Hollywood love stories, this one didn't have a fairy tale ending. Linda Kay Henning and Mike Miner divorced in 1973, 3 years after Petticoat Junction ended its run, though both continued their acting careers afterward and remained professional about their split. Fact 14. The show's dog and Uncle Joe both made their final film together.
The big ham.
Well, he did everything just perfect.
Perfect, my nothing. The dumb dog ran to the safe. Betty Jo said to tiptoe.
The relationship between Edgar Buchanan and Higgins the dog extended far beyond their time together on Petticoat Junction, creating one of the most touching friendships in Hollywood history between a human actor and his canine co-star. Higgins, who played the nameless dog on Petticoat Junction from 1964 to 1970, had been rescued from the Burbank Animal Shelter as a puppy by legendary animal trainer Frank Inn. The fluffy mixed-breed dog, believed to be a combination of miniature poodle, cocker spaniel, and schnauzer, quickly became a scene stealer on the show. In all the official cast photos taken each year during Petticoat Junction's run, Edgar Buchanan is shown either holding or petting Higgins, displaying a genuine affection that went beyond professional courtesy. The two also worked together on episodes of Green Acres when both Buchanan's Uncle Joe character and Higgins made guest appearances. After Petticoat Junction ended in 1970, Higgins starred in the 1971 television movie Mooch Goes to Hollywood with Zsa Zsa Gabor and Vincent Price. Then, at an estimated age of 16, Higgins came out of retirement in 1974 to star in the feature film Benji, which became his greatest commercial success and spawned an entire franchise. Edgar Buchanan, now in his early 70s, had a supporting role in the film, reuniting the old friends one final time. The movie turned out to be the last film for both actors. Higgins died in November of 1975, just weeks shy of his 18th birthday, while Buchanan passed away in April of 1979 at age 76. Frances Bavier, who played Aunt Bee on The Andy Griffith Show, was also in Benji as her final role, making the film a farewell for three beloved performers from classic television. Fact 15. An amusement park named after the show opened in the same year. It premiered. The impact of Petticoat Junction on American popular culture extended far beyond the television screen, inspiring real-world businesses to adopt the show's name and themes. The most ambitious of these ventures was Petticoat Junction Amusement Park, which opened in Panama City Beach, Florida in 1963, the exact same year that the television show premiered on CBS in September. The timing was either an extraordinary coincidence or an incredibly fast business decision to capitalize on the show's anticipated success. According to television historian Tim Hollis, the park's owners were members of the Churchwell family, who reportedly were personal friends with Edgar Buchanan, which may explain how they secured the rights to use the show's name for their business venture. The amusement park operated successfully for over 2 decades, entertaining families throughout the 1960s and 70s with rides, attractions, and presumably some Hooterville-themed decorations and references. The park remained open until 1984, a full 14 years after Petticoat Junction ended its television run in 1970, demonstrating the lasting appeal of the show's brand and imagery. Petticoat Junction wasn't the only business to borrow the show's name and concept. A restaurant and hotel in Texas also adopted the Shady Rest name and Petticoat Junction theme, with railroad workers using its bedrooms along the train line. Additionally, a hamlet in Woodstock, New York, called the Shady Rest Townhouse, has been in operation since 1969. These real-world establishments show how deeply Petticoat Junction resonated with audiences who wanted to experience a piece of Hooterville's folksy charm in their own communities.